If you're watching this video, chances are that you deal with conflict by making jokes, making light of it, suppressing any negative emotions, right? And my guess is you did that as a child. Mascots block out any painful feelings. They distract themselves from any negativity that's happening around them, which if you grow up in a dysfunctional family, there might be lots of that. And their main focus is on making a joke, making other people laugh, lightening the atmosphere. But this does come at a cost. So if you grew up the mascot in your family, I have 4 tips for you for your healing journey here. So what I have found working with people who grew up the mascot in their families is that this role really works for quite a long time until it doesn't. And sometimes it's really hard for the mascot to see how that role contributes to some of the difficulties they have in life. So we'll talk a bit about that, but I want to start by saying that tip number 1 is to acknowledge and celebrate your strengths. You are very likable. Mascots usually are super likable. They are popular in their friend group, probably popular within the family. You've got a great sense of humor. You use it often, and other people often appreciate that. You might come across as a very light person, like sort of you take things very lightly, and you might truly do that. Or you might be acting out a role and acting as if you take everything lightly and hiding all the pain that's inside. Either way, there is either a suppression of the pain that's inside or a complete cutoff of it, which leads to some other issues. But coming back to it, you don't have to lose your sense of humor to heal. You don't have to lose this wonderful strength that you have to lighten the atmosphere. So the second thing I'd like to suggest is that you begin to acknowledge those difficult emotions. Growing up in a way where you were distracting yourself and everybody else from difficulties and from difficult emotions, those difficulties can get suppressed so deeply that they can manifest with physical illness, or at some point they just might boil over and really impact your happiness. To live a full life, we need to experience the full range of emotions. I know you probably don't want to hear that. I know people don't want to feel anger or pain or hurt, but unfortunately, we feel all of our emotions, or we end up either in a box that does not serve us eventually, or we turn to alcohol or drugs to take them away, and then that only works for a certain amount of time, right? So it really isn't possible to cut off those more difficult emotions, and it really isn't possible to be happy all the time, to avoid conflict through humor. If you're watching this, you probably have better examples than these even about why this doesn't work for you, and I'd love to hear them. So give me a comment below. If you grew up as the mascot, what makes you aware that this role is no longer working for you? The third thing I'd love it if you could focus on is learning how to express to someone else, this might be a little scary, those difficult emotions. Because even if you begin to be aware of them, right? My guess is a lot of people watching this video are in that stage of like really being aware of those difficult emotions, aware of their humor and deflection, and aware that it's not working anymore. So what comes next, right? Beginning to learn how to share these, how to be more vulnerable. You really can't have intimate relationships without vulnerability. So if you never share what's really going on for you, others may not really connect to you. They might see you as the party guy or the party gal, or, oh, we love having her around, she's so much fun, but they don't know you. So you end up pretty isolated and alone, even if you have tons of people around you. So learning to be able to say, and try this in little ways. Try to approach a topic without the humor about something that's difficult for you. Pick a safe person to open up to and just experiment, even if it's with something that doesn't feel like overly terrifying to talk about, right? You can start in smaller ways. And the other thing I should say here is that a lot of people who grow up in dysfunctional families who took these very rigid roles, right, aren't aware of the full range of emotions, may not even know what they're feeling. So I do have a bunch of videos on emotional intelligence, like what information is being given to you by all the different emotions. What do they mean? How can you listen to them? How do you even know what they are? Where do you feel them in your body, right? All these questions. There's a lot of material on this. Explore it. Get to know those emotions and get to begin to express them to somebody that you trust. So number 4 is to acknowledge how this role of the mascot has impacted your relationships. So, as I've said already, people might love having you around, but they might not really know you. But this might also limit your relationships and your intimacy in another way. If you have a partner and every time they try to talk to you about something difficult, you make a joke, you make light of it, you can't quite tolerate hearing their difficult emotions, and you deflect, they're going to get pretty pissed off at you. Again, let me know if you resonate with this, because I think you will. I think this is probably the area that usually brings mascots into some of this deeper self-help work. Is my partner is always mad at me and I don't know why. They want to talk about their problems. What good is that? I don't want to talk about the problems. I want to make a joke. So learning to be able to tolerate your own difficult emotions goes along with learning to be able to tolerate other people's difficult emotions. And it's okay. You want to be a supportive partner. You want to be there for them. You can't be there for them if you make light of everything. So the role of the mascot develops for a very good reason, right? In fact, all of the roles in a dysfunctional family, and I talk about all of them in another video that I can link here, but all of them develop for a good reason. Now, maybe you became the mascot because it was a little bit in your personality anyway. Maybe you are the most physically similar to a parent who uses this technique, or maybe it just was your birth order, right? If somebody's already in the hero role and somebody's already in the scapegoat role, well, I might as well be the one who makes jokes. And then the fourth is often the one who hides under the table and is the lost child. So for whatever reason this developed, it was a good reason. You needed it then. It was a coping mechanism. And as I said, it probably worked for you for a while. And you developed strengths from it. So we don't want to ignore those strengths. But the problems that go with this are not only the lack of intimacy, which is, I think, a huge problem, but mascots can also begin to abuse alcohol and drugs or other behavioral addictions, because what better way is there to push away all those difficult feelings and remain the party person, right? So difficult emotions don't just disappear. We have to actively suppress them, numb them out, or do something. And that all usually ends up being self-destructive because we are actually aggressively destroying a part of ourselves. I hope that made sense. Often the mascot is the last one to get into therapy. I wonder if that's true for you, right? The mascot could be the very last one who's ever going to get into therapy, probably because of what I said, that, the role works for a long time, but also because of the lack of awareness that develops if you're always going for the humor. So everybody who grew up and developed one of these roles has some very strong negative core beliefs. And of all the personalities, I would say that the mascot is the one who's probably not aware of or in touch with their negative core belief. They're the one who has the hardest time identifying, really, what is my negative core belief? So I do have a free PDF, Transform Your Negative Core Beliefs, and it walks you through the steps to identify that negative core belief. And I know for some of the mascots watching this are going to be like, I don't want to know. Helps to know. Once you know, you can bring it to the front, you can look at it, and you can counter it. You can counter it with a positive core belief. And in the PDF, I give you 3 techniques to do that. So it's free. Link will be below. I truly hope it helps, and I look forward to seeing you next week.